The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
L.A. Straight up.
Let's go out to L.A. The new anthem. California Love Part 2.
One time.
To live in
Down L.A. West side. West side. West side.
To live and die in L.A., where everybody try to fatten their pocket. So many hustle for the cash, so it's hard to knock it. Everybody got their own thing, currency chasing.
Well, hello. God bless you, community family, and welcome to Gang Talk with Sister Herron and our special co-host tonight, Marcus.
Mr. Marcus. I just got told off for not being here since November. So I'm happy to be here, and as always, I get to learn. So,
well, you know what, Marcus, we were very encouraged at your return and your enthusiasm to find a different life for yourself and build that. And so, with that admiration, it was a pleasure to have you come and sit in with us as a co-host from time to time. But then you suffered an injury.
Yes, ma'am. A
serious injury, and we just had to put you on sick leave until you showed up again or made a phone call or something like that. Yeah. So we're very happy to have you here in Skipp's absence. And I'm going to say that Skipp has been so busy, he's not going to be here next week either. So we've already scheduled someone in to sit for him as well. And you know, this is a problem when you get busy and they take you away from things that you've been committed to for a long time. That's troubling for us. But, you know, Skipp is doing amazing things. His organization is really making a difference. And I only met this lady here because of Skipp. So we're very proud of him and what he's doing. Our usual thing is to always start by thanking our guests from last week. And honestly, family, I have to tell you, where's that program? I have to tell you two things that let me thank our guests from last week, because the first half of that hour that we missed with Kim with the scheduling mix-up, we discussed the mall shooting and police conduct and the excessive force issue. And having met Richario Mack's family and seeing how pained and hurt and angry they were, I understood immediately, and we did everything we could to assist them in that tragedy, but there's a great limit as to what someone like me can do. So it was very difficult, but I did ask him if it was appropriate for me to attend his homegoing service. I felt as a community member that had met with his family, I had an obligation to see it through, and so I did that. And I want to assure the apathetic in us that just blanket let go of this, just believing that the police just did their job. Well, Richario, and that's what they called him affectionately, Richario, had a family. That sanctuary was full. It was standing room only in there for him, as everybody else just dismisses his killing as, the police just doing their job. Well, as I mentioned last week, there's video evidence of them handling the same situation in a completely different approach. And so in my estimation, and looking at the professionalism with which they captured this man in the parking lot carrying a very large machete that he was terrorizing people with, they took him alive. Okay? And to see that the mall police failed the mall, failed Chario, and failed his family, they failed our community in their conduct. In that you got the call, there's a man with a problem in the mall. You came to contain him and kill him if necessary. This is our evaluation of that. There was no consideration of how to maneuver him over in a place where he could be contained. There was no indication that they tried that at all. And It's just a tragedy, as Chief Tangarides indicated. It's a lose-lose, and yes, it was. And the greatest loss is to Chario's children. He has 2 precious daughters. One of them about Leah's age. The other one, Leah's 13, and his other daughter's about 15. And, it's devastating to lose your dad under any circumstances. And when he killed in the tragedy, that's a double impact for the family. So we're praying for them and really praying for us all, because it's just by God's grace, as Chief Tangarides indicated. There were some shots that missed. Okay, let's be honest about that. They opened fire on him. Some of those shots, where did they go? And that's the risk that's unacceptable in a location like the mall, with families and mothers in there, employees in there, as we agreed that bullets don't respect walls. They really don't. So we're not done with that. We just want to let you know that Chicario, and I pray I'm saying his name right, but that he had a family, and his sister said so eloquently in her grief and anger that he belonged to somebody. And you see by his homegoing that he had a lot of family and friends that cared about him. And so it's a tragedy for them. It may not be a tragedy for you, but a tragedy happened. A tragedy happened in the Crenshaw Mall. The police are responsible for that tragedy, and we're going to get them to handle our mentally challenged family members as well as they did the homeless man in the parking lot. Okay, so we're going to have a show maybe next week devoted to that, because I'm sorry to say we're fixated on law enforcement right now. It wasn't our plan. We thought we were making progress with them until Grichario was killed in the mall, and now we're back to square one about the mental health community and their needs. So I want to thank our guests that came last week to discuss the 2 things, the gang database and the gang injunctions, and they were able to force the city to eliminate the injunctions as unconstitutional. And the agreement was they were unconstitutional. The crash unit in those years was, and I'm being generous, at least 80% corrupt. So the way the injunction got given out was corrupt, in that we discussed that you could be standing with somebody, they drive up, take your picture, and throw that injunction paper out the window and just tell you where you're in the injunction now. Right. See, so it caught a lot of innocent young people by that conduct, and we're going to go into that in more detail. But last week, Jaime Rarebree Gregory came to co-host, and Kim McGill came from Youth Justice Coalition, and she brought the very motivated, and I want to say her name right, Lucia Carballo. And I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that right, but she will forgive me. But she's an 18-year-old activist, and that's what I enjoyed about her.
Oh, yeah, I met her at Ceasefire.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, you did.
I met her at Ceasefire.
And that's the joy about what Kim does. She works with the young people, Leah's age on up to 18 to 24, trying to give them a place. And we appreciate everything that Kim has done. And when you know that her backstory was from a struggle as well, then you find a level of respect for her commitment. So we really want to thank Kim and Lucia for coming last week, and for Jaime for sitting in for Skipp. So let's just get started with our show tonight. So Marcus, you introduced yourself.
Now it's your turn to introduce yourself.
Yeah, we'll start with the youngest.
Okay, so my name is Leah Mia. I'm in Unity for Youth Incarceration Prevention with Mr. Marcus. And I'm an advocate for teen violence, relationships, and adults, but I can't, advocate for them yet. So just my age now.
That's all right.
That's the most important age.
Right. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And she's aware. And come on. See, because
absolutely,
you two are the reason that she's here tonight. because we had such a wonderful conversation when you were supposed to come the first time and meet with her, and it turned into a telephone interview that was outstanding and exceptional.
Well, we were able to improvise and make it work.
Well, come on, Petra, you introduce yourself.
Okay, my name is Petra Fontella, and I am the administrative assistant for Second Call, which is a second chance at loving life. I am that second chance.
Yes, you are. Bless your heart. And we just wanted to bring you, have a face-to-face on the show together with you two ladies, because I know that you answered her questions, but you really inspired me from the things that you said. It's like, look, I love the honesty here, the level-headedness, the clear vision, and the way you spoke to her with so much concern.
And then I had the pleasure of pretty much spending an evening with her when Second Call had the annual fundraiser where LAPD and the COs from CIW played in a basketball game.
Right.
So we got to hang out, eat some nachos, and drink some sodas, and have a conversation then as well. So I may have inspired you, but young individuals like Leah inspire me.
Yeah.
Because had I had the mentality that she has at her age, there's no telling where I would be right now.
Well, I don't think it's that you didn't have the mentality. I think she was just on a different road.
Or just didn't use it. You know, you probably just didn't.
She
take
had
the time
it. She just was doing something else. It's something that enticed you away from your good sense. Okay.
True.
So, and you know, I say this all the time, but people seem to, they don't want to accept that your peers have a lot to do with how you conduct yourself in those teen years. They really do. And it's not that your parents were so bad. It's just that your friends were more fun.
I can't blame my parents for anything. They did the best they could with what they had. And I just got to an age where I decided to make my own decisions and do what I wanted to do. So it seems like the more they told me not to do something, the more I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't want me to have any fun. So.
And that's the whole point. Your parents had a structure for you, but your friends was having fun.
Exactly.
What you perceived as fun. And it was willing to, you know, because look, I'm not going to jam you up about that because my kids try to do everything opposite of what I wanted them to do. So it's just what teenagers do. And so this is what becomes so important to reach out to young women like Leah and give her a very clear view of what that fun thing.
What I can say, whatever you said to her, and you inspired her to a point where every time she see Skipp, you know, even she's always like, "Where's Miss Petra?" I want to talk to Miss Petra, you know. So I told Miss Herron about it, and she made it so she could come here. But she been waiting to come talk to you. I don't know why she over here so quiet right now.
Okay, well, we will make sure that she gets my number, so we don't have to wait for a setting like this. You'll be able to call whenever you want to. We can talk whenever you need to talk. If I need to come, I'm coming. Because at the end of the day, I need to allow my mess to be my message to the generation behind me, considering they're our future.
Yes.
So whatever I can do to prevent you from making the same mistakes that I made, I'm all in.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Ma'am, you have anything you want to say?
I mean,
don't get quiet.
Yeah, right.
Okay. When it comes to my peers, like, I usually keep to myself and just, like, observe it, like, my peers surround me. But other than, like, affiliating myself with the wrong people, I don't usually do that because I'd rather have an education than be on the streets and not have one, or a job and not have one.
And she knows she's going to have a bunch of people on her back if she do.
Well, you know, by the time she's 15,
that's
just 2 years away. 16 is just 3 years away. And then 17, you're almost out the door. Yeah. It's like independence starts showing up somewhere around.
You got to know how to live life when you get to 18.
Yeah.
And that starts now.
Yes, it does.
Don't wait until you end up in a prison cell, because it took for me to go to prison.
How old were you?
Reflect on myself. Girl, I don't remember. That was so long ago.
I know, but you was hanging out early. Okay, and look, I'm not trying to out your backstory. Let me shut up, okay?
Yes, sir.
It's just that
my looks defy my age, and we gonna
You're
let
beautiful,
perception
girl. Look, you know.
take over right now.
What was fun like for you as a little girl?
I mean, initially as a little girl, it was fun just to be around my family, but then I was the only girl.
Right.
So I have 4 brothers, my cousins are males, so of course when they're going out doing their thing, they don't want me hanging around.
That's true.
I'm a girl.
Right.
So then I felt the need to act out and do certain things to get their approval.
Mm-hmm.
So then it's like when mom say you can't go unless you take her with you, then it's like,
There it is.
come on.
Yeah, I heard that a bunch of times.
Come on, let's go. Yeah, so I proved myself by doing negative things to get the attention from the wrong people. But when people want attention, if I don't get the positive attention and I know that the negative things I do will get me that attention, then I'm going to do what it takes to get it.
Yeah.
So if I'm getting encouraged from being over here having this fight, then I'm fixing to go over here and fight. Because they cheering me on, they giving me my props, they giving me love, I get my respect.
It's kind of good
So-
you just said that, not to cut you off, but it's been a few fights at the schools that I actually mentoring lately, and it's because of that. You know, you got people telling other people a story about one, and it moves to the next, and now it's a big old group wanting to see a fight.
Right.
You know, and at the end of the day, when you have to tell yourself that I'm gonna go in third period and fight this girl about nothing, then that makes you nothing.
Like,
You know, in my
absolutely.
opinion, you know, you look real silly sitting out there talking about how you want to fight because of somebody talking about you on Facebook. You know,
Cyber banging.
cyber banging is
It's
like one of the
real.
biggest things going on right now. You know,
And look, it's not only just the schoolyard. Grown women are engaging in this, you know, going and banging on some woman's door and daring her to come out. And I watch court TV a lot, and I see those cases repeat
Right.
themselves. I got car damage. She slashed my tires. She busted my window. Well, she came to my house to fight. And these are adult women, okay? So we can't just blame it on the kids and them wanting to fight. There's just some friction going on right now with our young people that I think they're filled with uncertainty about the future, and so they're just acting out in different kind of ways that an elder like me may not understand. It's not that I disrespect it, but I may not understand the motive behind it. So I kind of want to let Leah chime into this because she's in that age group. So can you kind of put a word on what starts that kind of nonsense? Do the kids support it? Do they think it's silly? Or
I think kids who fight want the respect because all the other kids want to like watch and not do anything.
yeah,
Like at my school, there's probably like every week probably like 1 to 8 fights,
you're
or in
junior
a
high.
day there would be 4 or 6.
You're in middle school,
Yeah, I'm in 7th grade.
7th grade. Oh,
And the kids in my school today, I have 4 or 6 fights.
yeah.
And it was all because of he said, she said.
And something that was posted. And then because she showed me a video where there was a fight at the school prior to our meeting at the basketball game where people are videotaping it, posting it on social media. I said, well, you're not posting it on your social media, are you? She was like, no, I didn't even pass it around. I didn't send it to nobody. But that's the behavior that we need to stop it. Don't encourage it. Don't send it to your friends. Why sit there and videotape it and glorify it when it's silly? It's nonsense.
It is. And I was amazed a few years ago of how World Star was picking up these posted videos and promoting them and just showing them until it got to be, if I see another girl fight, I'm liable to hurt somebody. I just can't see it anymore. And it was just so much every day. Another girl fight, another girl fight, another girl fight. And for me, usually women fight for material things or a guy.
Oh, yeah. I heard one time, I looked it up, because one time this girl, she got killed because of a boy. And she wasn't with him,
She wasn't with
but he broke up with the girl he was with for her. and they killed her for it in
And
the
the
bathroom, and they like videotaped it and stuff. But they don't show the video anymore because like that's
They
bad.
shouldn't.
But
the reality of that is, while girls are fighting over these guys, at the end of the day, he probably gonna leave both of y'all and end up with somebody else. So if I go to jail for doing something to another female, guess what? He not gonna be sitting out here waiting on me to come home.
No,
He's gonna
not.
move on to the next. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I can't keep something that doesn't want to be kept. So
That's right.
if you can't recognize the potential and the worth in me and want to be with me, then bye. I'm going to let you go. Because somebody is going to accept, respect, love, and cherish who I am.
And that's
that's the love that I want in the first place.
That's the love we want, isn't it? And, I'm not trying to bang on the guys. I really am not. I'm really trying to get our women to see their own sense of responsibility in this. Just like you said, he's going to move on. The one thing a woman can't do, she cannot make a man stay that doesn't want to be there.
Absolutely not.
I don't care what you do. I don't care the best food, the best sex, the best bling, whatever it is. If he doesn't want to be there, he's going to move away. Okay? Even if you're paying for him to be there, he's living a lie. All right? So we just have to be honest about that, because our young girls have to find their sense of self-esteem. And that guy can't define that for us. We cannot. I look at all the things that she's been exposed to, just at 13, and women just devalued. We become sex objects, tools in the media. We have a rape case today I don't want to talk about. But the point is, we get ourselves caught up in stuff, and then it's like, well, I presented this picture to you, but don't touch me.
Right.
So we're sending mixed signals.
That's the new economy today. You can sit here and have a 25-year-old on an Instagram page taking pictures, and Instagram pays them for it. So I mean, that's revenue for some of these girls.
Well,
do you get to 10,000 likes, you get money. And that's the thing that most of these young girls are empowered to push towards.
The money.
If I can get $10,000 for basically doing nothing, then I'm going to sit here and take off all my clothes and do it for Instagram and all that. And that's the reality that some women don't see.
But is that dollar worth more than my self-esteem? Is that dollar worth more than my integrity? Is that dollar worth more than my life?
Exactly.
So if I continue to devalue myself and disrespect myself, then I can't expect any of my peers, any man that I come across and may want to be in a relationship with. It starts with me.
Right.
So if I don't respect myself, I can't expect anyone else to do it. And I don't know how to teach anyone else to do it. We have to teach people how to treat us.
It also comes from teaching girls that, you got to go out here and get this money.
Yeah, we got Cardi B on there.
If a little girl's hearing from everybody, hey, go out there and do whatever you got to do to get you $1 to take care of yourself, because these men ain't nothing. They're hearing it from the women in their community. So they're going to go out there and do all these different things thinking that they're getting ahead because they don't want to deal with this man.
I've never heard a woman tell me, go out there and do what you got to do to get that dollar. I've heard that from men.
I've heard that from many women in my lifetime.
All right.
Famous people, too.
I've heard it from both.
What'd you say, Leah?
I said famous people.
Mm-hmm.
Famous people, yeah.
The media is telling you that.
Social media.
If you're not out here, whatever you got to do, go out here by any means necessary and make some money. Money is your life. That's the root of all evil. And they tell you to chase the root of all evil no matter what happens to you.
And it's true, because when I was younger, I recall someone saying, as long as you got one of those, you can get however many of those that you want, and you should never be broke.
Exactly.
Right. Well, see, that comes into the trafficking, that comes into the pole dancing, and
everything in the community to get money.
It comes with a whole lot.
I said anything to get money. That's what it is, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, and this is a very adult conversation we're really having right here, and is what women do to get that man's attention. I'm going to say it that way. I really am, because you're on the pole to get that man's attention. You're sex trafficking because you want the attention and the money. And both of those trades are kind of identical.
I don't know. I don't get the whole ladies of the night, the sex trafficking, because you're getting the money. You're using your body and putting yourself out there to get the money, but then you're giving it away.
Right.
Because if I was going to be doing all of that, I'm going to put it in a bank account for myself to set myself up to where this is not something that I would have to be doing for the rest of my life.
Right. That's the other problem.
But to get it and give it, to belittle myself and just put myself out there like that to be used and abused.
Just to be around a man.
Give it to somebody else. Yeah.
That's the tragedy in that story. These women feel like he cares about them, and they don't see it as, no, I'm paying for his environment. They don't see it that way. They look. I listened to this young girl the other day, and actually her pimp says, well, I give them 5% of what they take. It's like 5%.
But I'm putting in 100% of the work.
Mm-hmm. And then he has nerve enough to say, yeah, but I bought her a new pair of shoes. Like, that should equal all of that out.
No.
You're putting your body out there, your health out there, your safety with a stranger, all these risks that you're taking.
You bought me a new pair of shoes with my money.
With my money. Thank you.
But they don't see it as that, though. They see it as, I got to go out here and do this for him, or you're going to beat me up. That's basically all that's moving in that industry. It's even in the strip club, man. Most of them girls is in there because somebody put them in there.
True.
They're not in there because they want to be. Most of them are in there because if I don't go in here and make some money in here, then I'm not gonna have no life. He gonna beat me to a pulp. Most of them have that mindset.
But again, it comes down to self-respect, exactly. Loving myself, right. Knowing my worth as a woman, as a human being, whether it's man or woman, because you're right, we can't just necessarily blame the men. Yeah. But at the same time, the same people in our lives that are supposed to love us and care about us and motivate, uplift us, and encourage us, sometimes are the same ones that tear us down.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it can be.
But we can't sit around waiting for outside entities to let us know what our value is. Right. We have to determine that for ourselves.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I love about Leah, because she seems to have that understanding at a young age.
At a young age.
Regardless of all that she's been exposed to, yes. Whether it's the fighting, the questions about the gangbanging, she's asking the questions and getting the answers. So with us being in a position to give her the facts, she can make an informed decision for herself, even at a young age.
And she can push that same ideas to the next
to her peers,
to her friends.
Well, because I want Leah to get in this conversation. She's been very quiet, and we've been talking all about you. Okay, but it's true, and I want to see it this way. It looks like we're still having the talk with our kids, the same talk that I got as a child. We're still having that talk in 2018, but it has expanded.
We're having the talk now. I don't remember having the talk when I was growing up. Yeah. And then the talk that I did get, I wasn't really listening. Oh.
Right.
The talk wasn't intentional. So it kind of like went in one ear and out the other. It's like, it was
coming at one of those moments when you weren't paying no mind.
But it was like, do what I tell you to do, but then I see you doing something completely different. So
do as I say and not as I do.
Yeah, so that didn't really compute in my brain. But kids tend to emulate the things that they see.
Yes.
So even though we try to reach out to the kids and uplift them, we also have to communicate with the parents. Yes. Because, that's what Skipp always says. It's like taking a shower and then putting on the same dirty underclothes.
Yes.
So we can take the kids out of the environment and show them something different and present different opportunities to them. But if they're going to a broken home that is dysfunctional and this is where they're spending the majority of their time, then it's like, which way do I go?
Mm-hmm. That's true. We had a young girl on here that migrated to the street at 14 because there were drugs at home, drug dysfunction at home, and she didn't want to be around that. She just didn't want to go home and see that going on, and so she migrated out to the street where she found the gang. The gang became her family. It became a real family. Nobody was trying to hurt her, but at the same time, the nature of what they were doing, everybody's life was at risk. But the fact that she felt safer with them, than she did in her own home is very telling. You know, sometimes people just want to put that blanket blame on parents, where you're the perfect example. It wasn't your parents.
It wasn't the parents.
It wasn't your parents.
I mean, don't get me wrong. They had their dysfunction. They had their issues. They did the things that they did. But for me, their behavior isn't why I chose the path that I chose. Neither one of my parents were gang members.
Right.
I wasn't necessarily exposed to that. Okay, yeah, one of my relatives was a gang. He wasn't even a gang member. He hung out with gang members. He sold drugs. He did what he did. So I was around some of his friends. I saw certain things, whatever. But he ended up getting out of it no sooner than he got into it. But then when I jumped in, I dove in head first. I had the mentality, yeah, I'm a girl, but I can do it better than you.
And I think that's basically what we had today, is a competition between men and women that continues because we won't stop it. We got the choices, but we choose to, just like a few minutes ago, here it is, you're talking about men versus women.
Right.
You know, and what men do wrong and what women do wrong. So we all have this. I mean, as a man, I have this feeling of what women do wrong, and I'm pretty sure people have a feeling of what I do wrong or what I am.
The good thing about that, no matter, we can sit and point the fingers and point the blame at whoever we want to point the blame at, but at the end of the day, we all play a role in whatever situation we find ourselves in. We play a role in it.
You got to hold yourself accountable.
That part right there. So I can take a passive approach. I can be aggressive. I can do positive things. I can do negative things. But the fact is, I have a choice.
You know what? I'm not going to make it that easy, because I think there was some years where your choices were kind of predetermined by what was going on in our community, and what was going on in our community was dysfunctional. It was dysfunctional, and it went from neighborhood to neighborhood to neighborhood, not just your home or my block. I mean, I have bullet holes in my home. Okay, they've tried to kill my neighbors. Look, we've lived that terror, and what I find is more of your generation had to submit to the terror. There was no choice. There was really no choice. And so when I talk about the peer pressure of that, as I said, the 14-year-old girl, dysfunction at home, found comfort and safety in the street, in the local gangs. So I see that as damaging a whole lot of people that we're really not admitting about. Actually, I find more like you taking the blame instead of looking at the big picture where everybody was caught up in this thing. Right. You were just doing something a little bit different.
I mean, there were times when I made choices based on, I didn't feel that I much so had a choice, because the dysfunction becomes normal.
Yes.
If this is all that I see and all that I know, of course, in my mind, it's predetermined that this is what I have to do. But the fact is, I still had a choice. Well, I'm a gang member. My son's father was a gang member. I went to prison. You know, he's wherever he is doing whatever he's doing. Some would think that my child, because he grew up in the house with gang members, he saw me selling drugs. He saw me playing with guns. He saw a lot of things at a young age that no child should have to see or deal with. Right. So some people would think it was predetermined that he was going to grow up and be a gang member.
It was a potential for it.
It was definitely a potential, and the opportunity was there. But by me going to prison, his dad being on the streets the 12 years I was in prison, and not necessarily playing an effective role in his life, he still made the decision that this is not what I want for my life.
Right.
I don't have to walk in her footsteps. My son is like probably the only thing that I've ever touched that I didn't screw up. It's the best thing I ever did. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, but he had a choice. The majority of my homies, a lot of their kids are from the neighborhood. Sure. And it's like, we had to bury a couple of them. It's like, our kids are supposed to bury us. We're not supposed to bury them. So something has to give. We have to have these conversations that people don't want to have. And growing up, it's what goes on in this household stays in this household. Don't talk about it. But if we don't talk about it, we're not acknowledging that there is an issue. And if we don't acknowledge there's an issue, there's no way we can address it or come up with solutions to fix it. Leah is starting the conversation on her own. She's asking the questions. She wants the answers. And luckily, she's surrounded with people that can give her the guidance and the support that she needs. But at the end of the day, she's still going to make whatever decision she's going to make.
Yeah. But I think I want Leah to answer this.
Okay, I'll answer.
You've been listening to us. What do you think about all of this at your age and your future ahead of you?
I mean, we all have different perspectives, but my perspective is like, shouldn't.
Is what?
I mean, we all have different perspectives, like on life, in life. So, like, all depends on how you feel about it.
I'm asking you how you feel
Oh,
about it.
how I
Not
feel
anybody
about
else but you, honey.
I feel like,
What does worth mean to you?
like,
Well, I see you.
gotta get back to me on
You're
that
wearing
one.
Dr. King's face on your jacket, and I can't read. What's the meant to say? Injustice.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
Yes, and I really want to compliment the young people in your peer group and the 18-year-olds that have come out against the gun violence lately. I see that as a profound movement from the young people that, we really need to be listening to you because this is your future. That we're supposed to be protecting you to have a good future, but we're not willing to, we're only willing to do so much, and it just doesn't seem to be enough. I see a lot of pressure on you, but I don't see any input to alleviate some of that.
What do you think needs to be done to curb gang violence?
Maybe, like, listen to the kids more, see how they feel about the situations that they're in, or, like, yeah, just ask them how they feel about it. Like, how do you feel about me being out here? Or how do you feel your safety is?
You're saying we need to have some forums where your voice can be heard.
Yeah, like the kids are heard, or the victims around it,
I agree.
or around.
And that's real. I had the mentality that the choices that I make will only affect me. I'm the only one that has to suffer the consequences. I signed up to go to jail. Every time I walked out my house, I was volunteering to, as Skipp would say, get dead or go to jail. I volunteered for it. I signed up. So in my mind at the time, I'm the only one that's going to be sitting in this jail cell, so it doesn't affect anyone else. Even though I slept good at night that 12 years I was in prison, my mom was stressed out, my kid was stressed out, having to take care of my mom and my grandmother and my aunt. Mom and granny disabled, aunt's mentally challenged, and as a kid, he had to step up and be the man and take on that responsibility and do the things that they couldn't do, on top of growing up without his mother. And then, like I said, his father, he's here, there, everywhere, but he wasn't the male role model that he should have been. And I didn't know, when I asked him, was he mad at me when he came to visit me? I think it was like the first visit. It's like, oh, it is what it is, because that was my mentality. It is what it is. If it don't kill you to make you stronger, we're going to get through it and we're going to move past it. So at 8 years old, and I'm asking, are you mad at me for being in prison and leaving you out there? It's like, it is what it is, Mom. We're going to get through it together. And then it took for me to do a show with him. We filmed for the Oprah Winfrey series released. So they interviewed us. It took for him to be 26 years old and me to be 41 to have a conversation on air with them asking these questions for me to understand how effective he really was by me not being there.
Right.
So having that conversation with the kids and allowing them the voice, that is very important. Because a lot of time, I was one of those too in the house. It's better for you to be seen and not heard.
That's the way I was.
Sit down, shut up, go outside and play.
Listen and observe.
Do something, but shut up.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a voice.
No, you don't have a voice.
So the reality is, I agree with her 100%. We need to listen to them, listen to what they want, what they need, how they feel.
I think the biggest part of listening to a kid is actually sitting down and taking the time to understand what they're saying. It's a lot of adults who probably feel like because they're kids, what they saying don't mean that I'm older than you, I got a degree, I know more than you.
Respect your elders, pretty much.
If you don't respect what I'm saying, then, it means nothing. You know, like I tell her all the time, you know, different things that I see wrong, she corrects it herself. You know, and whether or not
let her tell us.
Huh?
Let her tell us.
You tell
We
her.
got her in here, and all the adults is talking, and here the child came to hear her voice. Bless her heart. Come on, Leah,
Yeah, you
set her
said
straight.
Tell them some of the things you've been doing, like advocating and all that stuff.
Like, if I see something wrong, I'll do my best to fix it, or like, I'll let them know what they're doing. Like with the fights, like the fight that I showed Miss Petra, like I was like, I tried to tell the girl like it's not worth it, don't do it.
Right.
But the other one, I didn't talk to her because I don't know her, but I only talked to the one, like one of those girls. And I was like, it's not worth it. Don't do it. And she was like, I'm not going to fight. So the other one was like making it seem like, oh, I'm going to
Like
be
she
the big
was
dog.
scared. Yeah.
And she's scary. So
So it was peer pressure that made her fight.
she didn't want to fight.
She didn't want to
She even
fight.
like, she took
She didn't
it.
want to look like a punk.
She didn't want to look like a punk, but at the end of the day, she still had to fight.
Right.
But I think one of the, even though you had a conversation with the one that you did know, I don't know. For me, I think maybe it would also be effective to step outside my box and also have a conversation with the one that I don't know. If the one that I do know is saying, oh, well, I don't have a problem, I don't want to fight, I don't this, I don't that, and then this other person is pushing the issue, then maybe I should attempt to have a conversation with
People
that
are-
individual.
People, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to like.
Oh, you're
cut you off.
fine.
People that knew the other one were pushing her like fight, like don't let her call you that.
Right.
They wanted to see it.
Yeah.
They wanted social media to see it.
Yeah.
They didn't
Yeah,
care about
'cause
that fight.
Videotape it.
When the fight was
Posted.
happening, I was already walking to class. Like I was already I was already gone. And then I seen him, and she was like yelling outside of the gym room, and I was like, what is she doing? So I went over there, and they're all screaming at her like, do it, like get her. And then people were still in the locker rooms, and then she ran up, and like it was just crazy. Like it was like the heat of the moment. You're like, whoa, like that just happened.
It is crazy that it happens that way, and as Marcus said, we agreed that it's the peers that egg that on. Your
Yep.
friend did not want to fight. You want to talk the other girl, talk her down, but her friends didn't want her to talk down. They wanted her to go ahead and beat up your friend that didn't want to fight. That's the peer pressure that's misguided. Why would you encourage these two? If you want to fight,
Why don't you
why
fight?
don't you
Because-
fight?
You know?
Yeah.
Those are the makings of a bully.
Yeah.
Because me personally, if you're telling me you don't want to fight me and you're basically bowing down, it's like I don't get no stripes for pushing that issue and fighting somebody that doesn't want to fight. When there's plenty of people out here that have that same mentality that want to fight. Go fight one of them. Somebody that's going to give you a run for your money if you just have to get it off your chest.
Yeah. You're going to find somebody who's going to be a bigger bully than you all the time.
It's always
Eventually.
a
Every
bigger
single
bully.
time.
It's
You
always a
can't
big
win them
bully.
all.
The thing too is that they're not looking at the consequences. Were the fighters suspended from school?
For a day, yeah.
A day.
And then,
Okay.
like, the girl who had the PE class with us, like, period, she moved to a different one. But she's still in the same area as the other one.
But even with the bully, again, someone needs to reach out to her as well because we don't know what her mindset is.
Right.
We don't know how she's feeling.
What she's
We
going
don't know
through.
what she's going through.
Yeah.
Well,
The
She
trauma,
might-
the trauma she got at home may be the trigger to what's happening at school with that fight.
And I was just fixing to go there too because a lot of time my mom is yelling and verbally abusive. She likes to yell and scream about everything and a whole bunch of nothing. I'm 42, about to be 43. Oh, I just told my age.
Ooh. I'm typing it.
And my
you
mom,
only look 20
my
something, so it's
mom
all right.
still yells and screams the same way she did when I was 9 or 10. You know what I'm saying?
Excuse me.
And growing up, like all that yelling and screaming, it's a communication breakdown for me.
Right. It
So
is.
then I start
You
feeling
can't
some
hear it.
kind of way. Then I get defensive. I can't punch my mama in the throat. So when I go outside,
Yeah.
I'm going to find somebody that possibly don't want it.
That is true.
Don't know that they about to be a victim because
Right.
I'm frustrated
I'm mad at my
and
mama.
mad about
Yeah.
what went on in my household and I can't control it and I don't have a voice in there, but you can't tell me nothing
Right.
when I get
When
out
I
here.
get out here,
And there it is. So
I could take it out on whoever I want to in that moment.
we can say, the bully, she's completely wrong in her
The bully?
actions.
Oh,
but
sorry. The bully was the one that didn't want to fight. She called her a name that the other girl didn't like, and she was always getting messed with in the house. She said, she was like, that was like the last straw for me, kind of like a trigger. And she said, I like, just when I started fighting her, that's when I couldn't stop.
The bully
She was getting
had these
She was getting
conflicts at
bullied.
home.
What?
At home or at school?
The one that was getting bullied
Mm-hmm.
was having, like, people were, like, messing with her,
Yeah.
like, teasing her and stuff. So she was like, when she said something about me, and the people came up and told me that she was saying stuff, I wanted to do it, like, fight her, like, get
and
it
that's
over
the one
with.
that didn't want to fight her.
Yeah, that's the one that didn't want to fight her. And they were friends before, but she was talking behind her back, and she was like, well,
and
Is
those
that
are the
Naya?
worst kind.
You talking about Naya?
No names. No names.
Oh no, because I'm trying to figure out the
Yeah,
kids.
No
those,
names.
Those are the
Oh, yeah,
worst kind,
yeah.
though, because as my friend, I'm confiding in you, and I may be sharing with you things that are going on in my life behind closed doors or outside of what everyone else can see on the surface. So then, if I feel like you've betrayed that confidence, then that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So
That's the
we have to
biggest.
be-
That's the biggest part of violence: rumors and gossip.
absolutely.
You get a lot of that. Anytime you have some kind of somebody talking about the next person, it always becomes tenfold.
And
You
then it
got-
doesn't necessarily even be the facts, because by the
Exactly.
time it gets back to the person it's about,
It's
people
totally
have added
different.
something
Oh.
to it and taken things
They got
away
a whole
from
sentence
it,
on
and it's
there.
a whole nother
Yeah,
story.
you got a paragraph by the time it get back.
on there. Well, we've had this conversation about dating violence, bullying, and that kind of thing. And Candy Lewis is our resident expert, and she wants people to know that bullying starts in the home.
It does.
It starts
does.
in the home. It doesn't start in the school. It starts
You
in the
learn
home.
that.
So it's a learned behavior.
I think the
that's
same
what
thing
I'm
about
advocating.
some of these
What'd
officers.
you say, Leah?
Oh, I said I'm advocating that, like, teen violence and adults. So
Yeah.
it comes from the homes, and when they can't do anything there, they take it out and do it on other people who don't want it. Like, how Miss
I mean, like you say, if we're not, it starts in the home, but when the kids leave home, where are they going?
School to start something
And then
else.
school ends up at the playground, and then you just have this vicious
Then you're
cycle,
just in the middle of the street, just fighting just because.
and don't even know why you fight.
Don't
Yeah.
even know why.
It's
That's
just
the sad
because
part.
somebody want to see it now, so they done egged you on
And pumped you up.
pumped
Like
you
they
up,
did in this, yeah.
and told you that this person is talking about you, and said your mama is this and that, and you get to school and now this person is saying, "Oh, I didn't say all that, but you so mad, you ain't trying to hear none of that."
And it's
you
funny
know?
because growing up, they used to always say, "Oh, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me." I mean, domestic violence, any type of violence, period. Like, to me, emotional abuse is worse than the physical. The black eye will go away, the broken bone will heal, but then a million things hide behind my smile. So you don't see the internal damage that's done from words that people have said. So if my mama is calling me this over here, my daddy's saying this over there, then I have this man telling me this over here, and then my teacher's telling me I'm
now
not
you
going
got
to
to
be
pick
nothing.
and choose
You know what
which
I'm saying?
one
So
you listen to.
eventually, I start believing some of this
Yeah, you
negative
believe
stuff.
it. If your parents say that to you, then they must be telling me who I am.
Exactly.
Because why would my parents lie to me?
or
So
Why would
now
they
they
tell me
live
something
up
I'm
to
not?
it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So it is important how we talk to our children. And I see our little youngest one in the house did a Me Too nod. That she had some conflicts on campus yourself. You want to come over here and tell us about it?
You can't come over here and just stand here to look cute on the camera. You're going to have to talk.
Yeah,
So you
this
can
is
be heard.
conversation.
Oh, she just got real comfortable over there, didn't she?
That's all right.
Yeah,
Come over
come
on
on
this
this
side,
side.
honey.
Uh-oh.
Who are you?
Introduce yourself and tell us how old you are, and then you can tell us your story.
I'm Sophie. I'm 9.5.
Almost 10.
And one of the girls at my school, she got really mad because one of my friends, she got mad at one of her other friends, and she was talking about the wrong person because somebody else said that she was talking about her, so she started talking about a bunch of other girls, and then they started coming up to her and saying a bunch of stuff to her, and then she started getting mad. And then once she got mad, they started fighting. Instead of going to a teacher or anybody, everybody started telling other people. And then it ended up going to our vice principal. Yeah. She tried to help handle it, and then the next day on the playground, it got worse.
It got worse. It got worse.
And how did you feel about that?
Yeah.
I didn't feel good about it. I kept telling them that it was rumors and stuff. They didn't care at the moment. They started trying to hit each other, talk about other people that weren't involved in it.
Yeah.
A few of the girls, they started saying a few bad words because of how mad they were. And then they kept telling a bunch of other people that weren't involved.
And what do you think about all that?
I didn't want to get involved.
No, I know that, but I want your opinion of what you thought about what they were doing.
I thought it was just disrespectful to other people because of how they were just talking about random people when they had nothing to do with it.
That's very good. How do you think that should have been handled?
They should have talked it out, told an adult, or told them talk to them about what happened to them and what was going on about them saying anything about each other.
Let me ask it this way. Do you think they should have all been brought in and had that conversation, all of them together? Everybody that was out there calling names, encouraging them to fight, all of them, or just the two that fought?
I'd probably say whoever was talking about who would go, whoever the two people were that were talking should have talked that out, and whoever else was talking about it should have helped talk and make sure that the fighting wasn't happening.
The reason I asked you this way is because the kids that were around there were more interested in seeing the fight than seeing it resolved. And that's why I ask you, if you had been the adult or the person in charge, what do you think would have been the best solution?
I would probably make sure they were probably more of separated or talked it out because of what was going on. And I've seen a bunch of girls, they were talking about each other. And when they were talking about each other, it sounded all messed up when people were just adding a bunch of stuff. When I heard them when they were saying stuff, when they weren't saying anything bad about them.
Can I just say she 9?
She is 9.
Almost 10.
Like what?
Almost 10. Almost
she got me over here.
She's about to be in double digits. Yeah, I want to see that pretty face on this camera. You see that pretty face? Look at this young girl. You see her?
Yeah.
There she is.
Hi.
This is our future right here.
Right.
She talk more than me.
How about
You
that?
will be
Got
acting
you.
shy, and
You're
you've
over
been
here
here
trying
before.
to be shy. Yep.
But
I've been here when you
this is how
same time.
important this is that we hear from you, and that look, when we ask you these questions, you take the moment and answer. Tell us, because a lot of us are missing. We're missing. We're just not present, and we need to be.
And our conversations need to be intentional, starting at 9, almost 10.
In elementary
we can't allow ourselves to say, hey, that kid's too young to learn. Because like I say, I've heard some kids say some things that's amazing.
Kids are like sponges.
Yes.
They are paying attention to, soaking up, and absorbing everything that we know that they are aware of, and even the things that we think we hiding, that we don't want them to know. They watching.
Yeah.
Let me ask
Those are
you,
your
you have a
recorders.
cell phone?
Yes, but I don't. My mom doesn't allow me to have a lot of social media, so I'll have
a cell phone.
I'll have 2 apps I'll have 2 apps that she'll let me download. That's social media, and that's just for me and my friends to talk. And when I was saying before, about the fighting and stuff. Besides that, it's I heard a bunch of second graders, they got so mad that they started saying bad words, and they said they were only saying them because they heard their parents saying them.
So second grade.
Second graders.
And they started yelling them, and and they said they didn't have a voice because none of the adults heard it. And they just kept saying a bunch of bad words.
See,
Well, they want to be heard.
That just goes to show you, though, that they're not in our presence 24 hours a day.
They're not.
7 days a week, so if we have to be the change that we want to see. So, and we have to lead by example, because when they get away from us, there's no telling how they're acting out.
Look, a long time ago, when I was little her age, I couldn't wait to go out and do stuff with my friends. Just the opposite of what my parents did. And when they found out, I got in trouble with them. There were consequences for my bad conduct. I had to suffer that. But still, discipline. I cursed. I wanted to see what those bad words sound. I think every child does.
I tried my mama a few times and tried to cuss in the room.
Oh no!
Yeah, I tried it.
Me too.
I did that like
you don't know what came flying though.
I did that like her friends did. I did that with my peers when there was no adults around and we was just testing the language.
I used to try that. Good. Like I don't say bad words like they did, but I can't say that I'm all that good about it.
Whoa.
Like I don't want to
on yourself.
You're almost 10.
Wait.
Like what my friends do, they'll start talking to me. And when they talk to me, one of them, they'll tell me like what their problem is, and they'll start saying a bunch of stuff about the other girl.
That's just mean stuff,
right?
And they'll say like they'll get so mad about it, and it's nothing. But I'll try to help them and make sure like they're not saying any bad words about them, not talking to them.
Right.
But I have to say that it's not all good when I get mad at school either. I can't say that they're the only ones and it's not me. I don't say bad words, but I get mad and
You're provoked.
I'll tell the girl, like I'll try to talk to the girl. I'll tell her that I'm mad at her, and I'll try to solve the problem with her. And if she doesn't want to solve it with me, I'll just leave it alone.
Yeah.
I try not to be mad.
That's the best thing. They say the best thing is to leave it alone, not help it escalate. That's one of the big things in law. There is a reasonable expectation of a response. What gets you in trouble is if you escalate it. If you make it 10 times, 2 times, 4 times worse than it was when it started. So even in the law, there's an expectation that it resolve itself in a way that nobody gets hurt. That's really the way the law interprets that. But I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of both of you girls.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're teaching me some things.
Right.
She taught me some things. I didn't even know that elementary schools are like that.
Because
when I was there,
like
you were just there 3 years ago.
Like in my elementary school, it's a lot of the girls. They'll start fights for no reason. Like one of them, they weren't even mad at them, and they just didn't like them because of how they wore clothes or how they act towards people sometimes. One of my friends, she got mad for no reason and just started calling random girls out, and it ended up into like a small fight. But at the end, everybody ended up in the principal office.
Every action has a reaction.
The vice principal's office.
As it should be.
An
adult has to come in and help you process that disrupt. And because, kids, you're in the moment. And as we already agreed, the ones looking on are the ones pushing the conflict. They want you to fight.
The situation on.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do that.
Sometimes our youngsters, they don't necessarily understand their own feelings, so they may not know how to express it.
Right.
And because for me, it was easier for me to get angry than for me to tell you that my feelings are hurt. And then I felt like that was a sign of weakness if I'm emotional and I start crying.
Nobody wants to be the punk
once I
in the
shed
ground.
a tear,
Okay.
If I shed a tear, now I got an attitude. Because it's easier for me to be mad than to allow myself to be vulnerable.
Hey, you make me cry, you're going to get hurt.
Absolutely.
I do have to say, I'm still in elementary school, but I've like cried a little bit because someone kept saying a bunch of stuff about me, or I was upset because I was upset and I wanted to cry at the same time.
Sure. They go hand in hand.
But at the same time, I was mad, but I was crying a little.
Let me say this, because you're almost 10. And I want you to know that the meanest people in the world are usually on the schoolyard. Okay? And it's a test to see if you're going to wimp out, if they can bully you. You know, everybody's testing everybody. So I just want you to know that it's not always going to be that way. It's not. But it's a whole lot of kids going through those same challenges you just talked about. So our good news is that you got your mind in the right place. You want something better for yourself than that. And that's what all of us want for you and Leah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And tell them people who trying to bully and do all that stuff at school, it's a bigger bully that could come up there.
For real, they don't know what's on the outside of them schools.
Don't make me come.
You don't even know. Like, the girls in my school, they get mad for no reason.
I know. Well, you know what? Girls got problems, and we're out of time, honey. We're out of time, so we're gonna have to have you come back and just give you some time to sit in the seat and join in the conversation. But as I told you at the beginning, it's a very adult talk. And I'm so proud of you at almost 10.
Me too.
To come in and share with these old rusty, dusty folks like us how you feel about things. You know, it's important for us to understand our children.
Like Leah said, we need to listen to our youth and understand what they want, what they need, and how they feel.
You got to understand and respect their reaction.
Exactly. Because they're human too. They got feelings too.
What you got to say?
Real quick.
Say keep your head to the sky.
Okay.
Yeah, you already said it.
All right.
Well, every action has a reaction, so just be aware.
That's right. Well, God bless your community family. We want to thank these young children for coming in and talking to you tonight. We hope you appreciate that, and we'll pray for them and look out for them and find a way to make a difference for their future. So God bless you. Thank you for listening, and we'll be back next week. Thank you, ladies. Thank you.